What's going on, guys? Back here another again. This time I want to kind of talk about my first concert. Every time I go to a concert, kind of remind me back when I went to my first one. So we'll go back. It's a ways back. So 1983, I think it was October, Philadelphia Spectrum. It was Black Sabbath and Quiet Riot. Quiet Riot opened up for Black Sabbath. Of course, you don't know. I'm sure if you're into metal, you heard Quiet Riot, Mental Health album. But what you may not know is that was the first heavy metal album to go to #1 on the Billboard Top 100, which was at that time a huge feat because at that time nobody ever heard of a heavy metal album going that high, which was phenomenal. MTV had a lot to do with that too because MTV had just come out maybe a year before, so they were really pushing certain bands. So I would, if I were a betting man, I would say it went for MTV. There's no way that album would have reached the heights that it did. So, Black Sabbath, I'm a huge Sabbath fan. So keep in mind this was the Black Sabbath Born Again tour, which was right after Ronnie James Dio left. And the Born Again album is kind of an odd album in the Black Sabbath discography. Um, it just kind of out there on its own. It doesn't really sound like Sabbath. It's not as heavy as the previous two albums, Heaven and Hell and Mob Rolls. There was just something about it that made it kind of like stand out. And of course, you got Ian Gillan from Deep Purple singing. So the story was that the album was done, it was mixed perfectly, sounded nice and heavy. And Ian Gillan tells a story that Geezer Butler and Tony Iommi took the tapes to I think London on a weekend and mix it themselves. I guess change the mix or something, and that's why the album has such kind of a muddy sound to it. If you listen to it, maybe after the video, go you just check out a song called "Digital Bitch" or "Born Again," which is a cool song actually. But "Born Again," "Digital Bitch" was supposed to be like the hit single off the album. But yeah, so I get it. I get there. So my first concert, I think I'm 15, I believe, and we had general admission tickets, which is on the floor. I had no idea what that was. Um, Obviously, we got the tickets. My buddy just got the cheapest one. So, man, we get down there. I'm 15 years old. Me and my friend, we get down there, and it's on the floor, obviously, and it's just absolute chaos, man. I mean, I look at concerts today on the floor. It's so tame and like organized, not organized, but I guess safe is a good word to say. Because this concert went down, there were people passed out, thrown up on themselves. There was people offering me every drug under the fucking sun, man. Shit I never heard of. LSD, dope, mushrooms, you name it. I mean, they're offering it to me. Hey man, what do you want? What do you need, man? I got you. And then another guy would come and push him away. No, man, I got you, man. My shit's cheaper. It was just fucking crazy. I couldn't believe it. I did not expect that. And of course, there's dudes down there just beating the living shit out of each other. And keep in mind, there was no security on the floor at all. The only hope was that somebody else down there, another concert goer would break up the fight. Otherwise, you got your fucking ass whipped. I seen it, man. It was just fucking crazy. It was just mayhem. I mean, it was nuts, man. I mean, I was just down there like, holy shit, what did I get myself into? I was like, fuck, like 15 years old, and I remember there was this dude. He was obviously he was on something, and he was standing on they have the concert. They have a dudes leave like the ice skating rink walls. I guess the rink basically without the ice. That's really what it was. It was the stage and what was left of the ice rink, the walls, the boards. And he was standing on the boards doing somersaults, laying on his back, and people were like, "Yeah, man, go, go." He'd get up, do it again, laying on his back, and his fucking face is busted open, and he's just wandering around high on something. It was just fucking crazy, man. I could not believe the shit I saw down there. And I guess the big thing was I was down there and there was some bikers standing down there, on the floor. And these guys had like chains and shit on their jackets. They had chains hanging off their belts. And I don't know how they got in the concert with that because obviously they would search you really well back in those days for weapons and bottles. And it wasn't necessarily bottles and weapons. They were really searching for cameras because back in the day, the worst thing you get caught with going into a concert with was a camera because bootleg videos they really, really cracked down on that shit for some reason. And obviously bottles because they don't hit the band, but any type of recording device, that's what they were really looking for. Drugs, they didn't give a fuck. I mean, a lot of times they would look in your, cigarette case. There's a couple of joints, yeah, whatever, man, here. But if you got caught bringing any kind of recording device, they were big on that. Bottles. So these guys had chains and shit hanging off their jackets, and they're just standing there like this, waiting for somebody to run into them. If you ran into these guys, man, you got your fucking ass whipped by these fucking motorcycle guys, and they were just waiting for it too. You could tell. I mean, it's a heavy metal concert right on the floor, so it's people running around doing dumb shit, and they're just standing there like this. Three of them, like waiting for you to run into them, just waiting for you. So that was fucking nuts, and I think actually somebody did, and of course they dealt with him pretty. Obviously he got away. He ran away. They were going to chase him. They were kind of like older men too. I remember I was 15. They looked like they're in their 20s, probably. Big dudes, big biker guys. I'm sure they fucked a lot of people up that night. But yeah, I tell people, especially young guys, you don't realize how lucky you are, how like safe the floor is. Even when I went to the recent Maiden concert, it got a little hectic, but there was actually security like making sure that you were okay. Back in 1983, nah, man, there was no security. Nobody was coming to come save you. Nobody. Maybe if they could drag your corpse off or your bloody body and toss you over the little wall there and maybe into the seats, somebody would come get you. But hey, man, that's just the way it was. So, but yeah, the concert was actually pretty good. Um, I don't remember much of it. Back in those days, the concerts weren't really that long. I don't remember. It was my first concert, so I do. It was kind of cool seeing your idols for the first time. Quiet Riot came out. They did like their little hour set. They only had one album, so they obviously couldn't play that long. I'm kind of rambling here, but overall, Sabbath was okay. I got to see Tony Iommi and Geezer, and oddly enough, their drummer was Bev somebody he was from ELO, which kind of odd, really odd band for that time. Old Deep Purple singer and Bev Bevan. I think Bev Bevan was his name. But anyway, so I still have, actually, believe it or not, the tour program. It's actually, I've had this since 1983, believe it or not. This thing's been all over with me, man. It's been in the military, came out of the military. It's been with me multiple moves, with me in college, out of college. Crazy. Went to Japan with me when I lived in Japan, and I still got all these years. I used to have the ticket stub in here too. That showed the price. I think I paid like $15 for the ticket. But yeah, man. I mean, you guys don't realize how lucky you are to be go to concerts and be somewhat safe. I guess the other story I got as far as concerts go is, I think it was actually Judas Priest. The first Judas Priest show I saw was Defenders of the Faith, and I was actually in the seats. That I learned my lesson with the fucking floor. So me and my friend, we got the seats, pretty good seats, and we're sitting there watching, and people would obviously jump over security and jump up on stage. And I never forget this kid. He was just obviously a kid, probably 14 or something. He jumped up on stage. As soon as he hit the stage, his feet hit the stage. Like one of the security guys just came out of nowhere, picked him up, and I shit you not, fucking body slammed him on the fucking stage. I saw his body hit, boom, bounce up. That's how hard he got slammed on stage. Picked him up, and fucking threw him back out in the crowd. That's how, dude, that's how that shit was back then. I mean, I think they did that to send a message like, don't come up on the stage, and it worked. Trust me, nobody set foot on that fucking stage after they saw that shit because and homeboy got fucking wrecked on that one. I mean, I just saw his body just go boom, bounced up out, hit the stage. He was out too. He was out like a rag doll, and they just picked him up and like fucking just chucked him back in the audience, man. This shit was crazy. But that's just the way it is. That's why, you go back to old 80s videos, metal videos. When a guy hits stage, he's fucking running, man. Because they know if they stop, which this kid did, as he jumped on stage and kind of, I guess he was going to turn around to the crowd or something. And homeboy got out, bum rushed him, body slammed his ass. He was out and just tossed him like a fucking trash bag out in the crowd. So fucking nuts, man. So yeah, that's it, guys. That's my little story of my first concert. If you'd like to know more, let me know. I've been to a lot of 80s concerts back in the day. I've been to a couple concerts in overseas. So yeah, let me know. I'll put down below what was your first concert, and I guess just a kind of a memorable moment. And maybe you got blackout drunk or something and puked on somebody. I don't know, but anyway, that's it, guys. Later.